Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, July 6th, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Hey, bruh, this is like JBR, man, and you're listening to the Weekend Roundup, dude. It's the weekly wrap-up recap rendezvous with the duders. I'm LazyBed, and this little doohickey is what we're calling Just Bleed Radio's summer forecast. Thank you for listening, everybody. Happy to have you tuning in. All right, I can't keep doing that. As you know, this past weekend, guys, there were no UFC fights because America had itself a birthday, but the boys and I couldn't take another week off, so we're back at it once again, this time with a look at what lies ahead for the combat sports leaders' summer schedule. Now, we're going to give our thoughts and opinions on all the officially confirmed matchups, at least up to the moment, and maybe even some of our own personal leans along the way. Now, here come the fellas. Introducing first, my usual co-host. The D is for Ditcheva, his favorite gal. The A is for alcohol, he's drinking right now. The N is for nude, just like his skin. The G's not for grappling, to him it's a sin. The E is for England, it's where he calls home. And the R stands for river, where the pot is his own. DangerMouse, what's going on, lad?
Pretty good, Lazy. Pretty good. The weather's shit, but I'm pretty good.
At least you're in a bright, cheery mood, even if the weather isn't. And also, second up, once again, filling in for an indisposed no special. The D is for Donk, of which he is one. The A is for Astroglide, he'll squirt on your bum. The V is for Vivacious, he's vibrant and bright. And the E is for, E, baby, let's spend the night. Former military train conductor, Big Dave, what's up, man?
Not much. Just chilling. Hope y'all had a good July 4th weekend, even you, Mouse. And the A stands for awesome.
That too. That works also.
Amen.
Yeah, well, I'm sweating my ass off, so we're going to go ahead and kick this shit off. We're going to get this thing going. But as we begin, you guys know what to do already. Jiggle the like button, honk the subscribe, pinch the bell, something like that. It's something like that. I don't remember. Anyways, all right, dudes. So what we are going to do here today is just take a look ahead at the next 2 months for the UFC, the fights on the docket, what's to come, etc. Some of these cards are set in stone, some are still fluid, but I am basing this solely off of posts from Marcel Dorff, so we know they're legit. Now, first up, the card that we'll be watching and covering next week. The UFC heads back to Music City, USA, and they bring a heavyweight main event along with them. Let's take a look at some of these fights now. I guess I'll just mention them, and then we can riff off a bit. But we'll start from the bottom. Junior Tafa makes his return, and he'll be taking on Tuco Tacos. Cool. Only thing I can think of to mention with this one is Junior Tafa making the very smart move down to 205. Just no longer fighting at heavyweight. It's too damn small for heavyweight, so I think that's a smart move. I'm sure you guys don't probably got much to say on this one. No, okay. All right, after that, it's Fatima Klein, my very own draft pick in this year's JBR Fantasy Draft. She'll be taking on Super Melly Martinez. This one, sneakily, could be one of the better women's MMA fights of the summer. And that's not just me being biased because it's my draft pick, but it should be a fun one. Two young talents in the women's MMA. We'll follow that with Lauren Murphy versus Eduardo Mora. I'm not sure why the hell Lauren Murphy is back. She is 41 and hasn't fought in 2.5 years, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, your girl's lucky she's a 115. That's all I need to say about that one.
Like I said, Austin Lane versus Vitor Petrino, Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani, Nate Landwehr will take on Morgan Charrier, Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez, Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Walter Walker, Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis, Calvin Cater versus Steve Garcia, Wonderboy Stephen Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim, And of course, in the main event, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, taking on Taliesin Teixeira. Any one of those fights that you guys want to talk about?
Sorry, I was manually distracted there. The Lewis one, I don't know much about Teixeira. Teixeira's the really, really lanky guy, isn't he? He's about 6'7" or something.
Yeah, with the big fucking spider tattoo on his chest.
Oh, I didn't remember the tattoo, but yeah. Yeah, you never know with Derek Lewis. Sometimes he'll turn up and sometimes he's just there for a paycheck and maybe he needs I don't know, a new Lamborghini or whatever the fuck he's driving at the moment. So hopefully Teixeira proves to be something decent and then we've got a future opponent for Tom Aspinall. So yeah, that's my only hope on that one. And Thompson versus Bonfim. I can never remember the Bonfim. Is he the Bonfim that's had a loss or the one that hasn't had a loss? Or have they both had a loss now? I can't remember.
That is a good question. Let me check real quick.
But I think they're both fairly happy to grapple, aren't they? Decent jiu-jitsu, if I remember rightly. So that could probably cause a problem for Stephen. If they decide to have a striking match, it could be entertaining. Any striking match with Stephen Thompson is going to be good.
This is the one with the loss. This is the one that took the loss to Nicholas Dalby.
Yeah, like I said, if it's a standing fight, it could be good. If Bonfim just tries to take Thompson down all the time, it's not going to be very entertaining in all likelihood. Unless he's really, really good at jiu-jitsu. And I guess if he swarms all over Thompson, that could be entertaining. And Qatar versus Garcia. I always feel bad for Qatar because I strongly only really remember him from Max Holloway, slipping punches while talking to the commentary team and not looking at Qatar. So yes, that's my enduring memory of the poor guy. Not that, I mean, don't get me wrong, tough as well boots. I think he did win the fight after that as well, even though I didn't pick him. I do remember that much. And Garcia, I can't think who Steve Garcia is, to be honest.
Ooh, Steve Garcia is a nasty, nasty man. He is the mean machine. And I believe he is on like a fucking heater of a fucking win streak. I think he's at least like 7, maybe close to 8 wins in a row at this point.
5 wins in a row.
5-0?
5 wins in a row.
Yeah, 5 wins in a row. Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
He beat Jay Super, which is a good win.
Yeah, and I think he's been finishing all of them too. Yeah, 5 wins in a row, 5 finishes in a row.
Sounds like a strong prospect then. As you can tell, I've done zero research on this card.
Well, it's coming up in just 1 week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some fights on the prelims more than the rest of the card. Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis is really interesting to me. I like Max Griffin. I think he's pretty good. And Chris Curtis, I think this is a return to welterweight, or maybe he's been at welterweight, but I think he's had a few middleweight fights recently. And then Jake Matthews versus Chidi and Shaquani is a fun fight. I like Jake Matthews. He's a good and bad fighter. Like sometimes he shows up, he's really good, and sometimes he's just terrible. So no matter which Jake Matthews shows up, I think that should be a good fight and won't go the distance. So those are really the only 2 fights I kind of care about on that card.
Yeah, I think like with the Wonder Boy matchup, for instance, my thoughts on that one. I wonder if this is going to be the last fight ever for Stephen Thompson, at least in the UFC. Right. Maybe not all together, like we could see him somewhere else outside of the UFC. But I wonder if this might be the last one in the octagon itself. And like you just mentioned, Dave, the Chris Curtis fight. I'm interested with that one to see, is that one even going to be allowed to go forward with the recent incident with Strickland and Curtis, and Tough Enough and attacking that fighter? I haven't really heard any updates on possible suspensions, and we're getting awfully close to the date, so it's seeming like that fight's going to go forward. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I touched on it briefly when I was talking about these fights, but kind of got my eyes a little bit on the Vitor Petrino fight. It's pretty obvious they're like the UFC is desperate to get this guy a win. They're moving him up to heavyweight now and sticking him against Austin Lane, who notoriously just gets knocked the fuck out. So that's probably going to be a fight that ends early. But one thing I wanted, before we move on from this card, the last thing I want to say is in 2026, guys, unless it's Tom Aspinall, no more fucking heavyweight main events. We do not need heavyweights in the fucking final fight of the night. Like, let the heavyweights open the night, let them be curtain jerkers, but I don't want to see big fat sloppy fights to close out my night. Anyway, we'll move it along, though. Next up, guys. Next up, it's a big one, and it is quickly approaching. It is the Diamond's Last Dance. And we're going to head down to the Bayou for UFC 318 in New Orleans. And the Smoothie King Center is sure to be buzzing. This card is virtually all set, so let's get into some of these matchups. And how do you start with anything other than that main event, guys? It is, the third pairing of these two? Yes, the third pairing of Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier for the BMF title, if you want to call it that, a BMF title fight in the main event. It's going to be a big one, so it'll be interesting to see how that thing shakes out and how that pans out. Does Dustin get sent off on a W, or does he unfortunately have to walk away with his head hung low? The co-main event, we're looking at Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Follow that with Kevin Holland taking on Mr. Daniel Rodriguez. Then we got Dan Ige facing Patricio Pitbull, and will be his second fight under the UFC banner. Also, Michael Johnson taking on Daniel Zellhuber to round out your main card. Prelims, we're looking at Kyler Phillips taking on Loke Dog Vinicius Oliveira. Marvin Vittori versus Brendan Allen. Following that, it is Francisco Prado versus Nikolai Varetnikov. Atiba Gautier versus Robert Valentine after that. And Adam Fugit versus Dulatov. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Ryan Spann versus Lucas Breshke. Bruno Fajeda versus Jackson McVeigh. And Carly Giudice versus Nicole Cagliari. So that is your UFC 318 card from New Orleans. Is there any of these fights that you guys would like to talk about?
Well, I thought you were going to stop after you mentioned the main event and give us a chance then.
I considered it, but then I changed my mind.
Yeah, obviously the main event, interested in that. It is officially, according to that, what I'm looking at for the BMF title. I can't see that title going away with Poirier, although it would be quite funny if it did. I think Max is going to be hungry for that new win, and obviously he's coming back after that devastating loss, and I think he's going to be quite hungry for it. Poirier's at home, so he's going to be fired up and wanting to win. We should get a good scrap, but I think this time Holloway's finally going to get that win. Hopefully he doesn't repeat what he did against Volkov and lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
That's my guy for this one. I'll be betting on Holloway for this one for sure.
Yeah, I've actually got that written down. The final tussle, does Max get one back or become one of the few guys to lose 3 fights to 2 separate fighters?
Yeah.
Because that would be 3 to Dustin and 3 to Volk. That would be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, what do you got on the main event?
I think it's a fun fight. I don't necessarily care for the BMF being on it anymore. I mean, they're both coming off of, or is Dustin coming off a loss?
Yeah, to Islam.
Yeah. So, but whatever. It's a fine fight. I'm not sure if I would have went that way for Dustin's last fight, but it is what it is. I'll certainly be leaning towards Dustin. He's got 2 fairly decisive wins. Or the first one, I think he stopped, and the second one, it wasn't really that close. And Max is coming off that KO loss, and his chin isn't what it is. And Dustin has seriously tested his chin in previous fights. So I think this is in New Orleans. It's going to be a good night for Dustin at home, and he's going to win. It'll be a good fight, hopefully.
I'm sure it'll be a good fight.
Yeah. I don't see how you can go wrong.
I hope it doesn't end like in the, real fast or something silly. Like, at least go 3 rounds.
I can't see it being a quick knockout.
Yeah.
Just because Holloway's chin was cracked once, it doesn't mean it's completely broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back up at 155 here, he should be, carrying some more water in the brain and hopefully, be in better shape than he was going back down to 145 for that Ilya fight, which I still maintain was a stupid move. Should have never went back down to 45.
No, shouldn't have.
Well, what about this co-main event, guys? Do you think this thing actually happens? Do you think Paulo Costa actually makes the fight?
That fat pasta fuck, as Austin would like to call him. As Costa becomes kind of like a gatekeeper somewhere at some point in the rankings. I'm not entirely sure what ranked he is at the moment. And I'm being lazy. I can't be asked to look it up.
He's 13 and Kopylov is 14.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Then. I'm more than likely picking Kopylov. He's the guy who's on the up. Costa doesn't fight often enough to keep a decent level in the sport. His secret juice is not going to fucking help him this time. I don't think.
These are all these placements are fluid to change, but either way, a couple other things we could mention here. Just some notables for me throughout the card. Ryan Spann versus Lucas Brzeski. What the fuck are we doing, guys? Like, why are these two guys on a pay-per-view card? I don't care if it is early prelims. Both these dudes are asking them out here. Gauthier versus Valentine. That's going to be a fun fight, but I think it's pretty much a sanctioned murder. I think that Gauthier is going to knock Valentine's fucking head off.
I think so.
Yeah, guy's basically like he's the new Ngannou, the middleweight Ngannou. Although they're finally giving Valentine a striker, so that's nice. But the Prado fight versus Veretinikov, that's going to be a banger. Prado's a good fighter, but Veretinikov kind of sucks, so I think that's a get-right fight for Prado. Alan Vittori, these fucking two guys relegated to the prelims once main eventers of Apexes and Fight Nights, and now they're on the fucking prelims. I think Kyler Phillips versus Loke Dog, that's probably one of my favorite fights on the whole card. Possibly fight of the night in the making. Dave, your guy, Michael fucking Johnson, back at it again. He's got a tough matchup in Zellhuber.
Yeah, he's going to lose. I love him, but he's going to lose.
And then just last one I want to mention is the Ige versus Pitbull fight, which in my eyes is basically a battle of fucking clones. Ige and Pitbull might as well be the same fighter. Mix in Rob Font, and you got one dude.
Hopefully, but wasn't Pitbull hopelessly disappointing last time before?
Yeah. And he's not getting a softball here.
That was bad matchmaking, in my opinion. But yeah, he didn't look great.
I know Dan Ige's eager to get back in there. I've been seeing him posting pictures with Eric Nixick in the gym. Looks to be in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not a bad card, but it's not a great card. Let's be honest. The main event is obviously pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The rest of it is meh.
Kind of weak.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland's probably going to bring home some fantasy points for Dave.
But I hope so.
Is that D-Rod he's fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure. That'd be a tough fight. Yeah. The really important fight of that particular weekend is, I think, happening on Saturday morning, which is Dakota's fighting.
Oh.
I need Tom to announce when he's going to fight, because that's my points coming up. See, I heard him on the interview the other day saying he wants to fight 4 times in between now and next year. Same time next year. So that's 2 fights this year, hopefully.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got plenty to get to still, so we'll go ahead and move it along again. And we will go ahead and wrap up the month of July here. And to do that, we will be headed back to the desert once again. This will for a star-studded fight night in Abu Dhabi. Let's get into what exists of this card as we sit here today. You're looking at your main event with Robert the Reaper Whitaker taking on RDR, Rainier de Ritter. Movsar Evloya versus Aaron Pico. Piotr Yan versus Marcus McGee. Bryce Mitchell in his bantamweight debut versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. Shara Bullet making his return against Power Bar Marc-Andre Barrialt. And Nikita Krylov versus the Anthony Smith clone, Bogdan Guskov. We also have some prelims announced. Amanda Hebus versus Tabitha Ricci. Asu Amabaya versus Ramazan Tamirov. Davey Grant versus Tom Blackshear. Muslim Sadikov versus Carlos Leal. Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elikana. And Mohamed Yahya versus Stephen Nguyen. We at least got to talk about some of these fights on the main card, guys. So what's your thoughts on this UFC on ABC 9 from Abu Dhabi on July 26th?
Well, proves that if you pay enough money, you'll get a better card than a numbered UFC card.
Facts.
Because it pretty much is better than UFC 318, with the exception of the main event. And even this main event looks pretty good. De Ridder looked really good last time. Whitaker's obviously one of the top guys in the sport, but I have heard rumblings that he's considering retirement, which is always that dangerous moment for a fighter. And Derrida obviously is not intending on retiring anytime soon. He'd like to get a crack at the title. Going to be a tough one for Robert. I hope he can take it down. I'm a big fan of his, but I haven't decided yet if I'm going to pick him. I need to look more at Derrida for that one. And yeah, Magomedov versus Barrio. Barrio's a tough guy. I think he has a habit of storming forward, and that Magomedov obviously coming off the loss to what's his face, our English fighter, isn't it? Michael Venom Page. I think that was his last loss, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, his first loss or something.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Because I picked him in that one and he lost. Should have been patriotic. Serves me right. I could see Barrio giving him problems. In truth, is Barrio's grappling game any good?
It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's his bread and butter, but he does have some skills there.
Because I just have a memory of him as being pretty much a block of a guy. Really, really solid. Whereas Magomedov is a bit taller and rangier. So I can see maybe getting him up against the cage, causing him trouble, getting him down, and causing him problems there. Equally, I could see Magomedov hitting him with a double spinning back elbow like he did a couple of fights ago, whenever it was, or a kick to the head or something. But yeah, that should be a fun little fight. And again, I have to ask on this one: is this with Mitchell? Is this one of the grappling Nurmagomedovs, or is it the striking Nurmagomedov?
I want to say this is one of the striking ones.
Yeah,
he's more kicky.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But he's not real.
Yeah,
he's not a real Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can grapple, but but he's more kicky.
Yeah, that could be fun.
This is the Nurmagomedov that Dana said in his little fight announcement video, cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he's not related to him at all.
Yeah, maybe somewhere 1,000 years ago or whatever.
It's like saying, your last name's Williams and so is his. You must be related.
Yeah, and Mitchell is, of course, the pick that Dave doesn't like to talk about.
He's going to lose.
Shadow one that's missing from the thing. If you get your points, though, mate, take them.
Yeah, I'll take them.
You can overtake Lazy, I believe, if you get some decent points.
Yeah. Well, Dave, what do you think of that main event? Who do you got in it? Necessarily who you leaning, maybe? And you think RDR gets a possible title shot with a win?
I think RDR, he could get a title shot with a win. I'm leaning towards him. I think he should lose the fight. I think Robert Whittaker is the more dangerous fighter, the more polished fighter, the better fighter. But RDR's got a little bit of that spaz in him. And, he's really tall and rangy for the division, and Whittaker might be on his way out. And, after his last performance and being that he's from the Netherlands, which is close to my family's homeland, I kind of just got to go with RDR. And I enjoy watching him fight. So I love Robert Whittaker, but I think his time is kind of over with, and it's RDR time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so too. He's been talking some crazy stuff too, saying he's got like a 3-fight game plan to get back to a title shot and like end with the gold. And I applaud him for thinking that way. That's kind of the way you gotta think. But like you, I sort of think that he's kind of I wouldn't say on his last legs, because there's plenty of guys in the division that he could still beat. But as far as championship ambitions go, probably not going to happen. But I think I'm really interested to see what happens here with the debut of Aaron Pico against finally Movsar Evloev getting a fight. Like, this is possibly like the highest stakes that you could have at featherweight. It's almost certain the guy that wins this fight is next up for a title shot. So.
Yeah, this is another real tough matchmaking when they're bringing someone over. This is probably one of the most difficult matchups that a fighter coming over has had.
I mean, nobody wanted to fight Evloev, like not even the people that were well established.
Yeah.
And then maybe the shocker fight, the most unexpected banger of the summer, Piotr Jan versus Marcus McGee. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's going to be insane. Marcus McGee comes to fucking bang. He does not back down, and we all know Petr Yan, some of the best Muay Thai and stand-up skills maybe across the whole of the UFC, so that's going to be a fun fucking fight.
Yeah, I hate that
I don't
fight.
think you hate it. Did you say?
Yeah, I hate that fight.
Okay.
There's something
Explain.
about Marcus McGee I don't like, but I haven't put my finger on it. But and then Petr Yan being number 3, arguably close to next in line for a title shot, is fighting another like super low ranked, dangerous as hell guy. Like last time he did that, the O'Malley thing happened. I just don't like the matchup. I think Petr Yan could win it and should win it, but I mean, Marcus McGee's going to be
McGee,
bringing
like
everything.
8th or 11th or something like that?
He's 13th, and Petr Yan is 3, so it's 3 versus
Wow.
13. So
yeah, that's why it's kind of out of left field.
We did just see Joshua Van do that, so
yeah, and this is the fight that the UFC brass kind of tried to screw fucking Marcus McGee on, because he was initially slated to be getting paid on a new upgraded contract for his next fight. And when they sent him the bout agreement for this fight, they sent it to him under the old contracts, like quote. So they were trying to pay him what he was fucking getting paid before. So this fight was supposed to be like announced, a month or so ago, and it got delayed because they had to wait for the actual updated contract. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good card for a fight night. It's probably going to be on early in the day, which is going to be nice because it's going to be on Abu Dhabi time. So
yeah, it's on 3 p.m. Eastern, so 8
there
p.m.
you go.
Not too bad at all.
And fantasy points abound in this one too. You got the Bryce Mitchell matchup, which Dave doesn't want to acknowledge. Possible points there for him. You got
Austin.
What's that?
Magomedov for Austin.
Yep, yeah, and then also Tabitha Ricci also for Austin.
Oh, bloody hell.
So yeah, some fantasy stakes in that one as well. I'm excited for the Bogdan Guskov fight because I think after seeing what happened to Nikita Krylov in that last fight against, who was that, Dominic Reyes, was that? I think so, yeah. Pretty sure. But either way, yeah, he got fucking laid the fuck out. So, and Guskov can crack, man, so he's probably gonna put Krylov away. Yeah, real quickly, I'll just go over some of my notables I wrote down for this card before I move it along. Like you said, DangerMouse, Blackshear versus Grant ought to be pretty fun. Both come to scrap. Sadikov versus Liao, that looks to make a banger striking match. Both those dudes are probably just gonna stay on the feet. I don't see much wrestling happening. Almbayev versus Tamirov, 2 of the tougher outs at 125. It's also Kazakh versus Uzbek, so gonna be a fiery fight there. Like I just said, Krylov versus Guskov definitely does not go the distance. Shara should beat Marc-Andre Barrial, I feel, but you pointed out, DangerMouse, he's a tough little shit, man, and he could crack himself, and he's what he's most known for, and it's why his nickname is the Power Bar. He's got stamina and cardio for days, so if he can outlast Shara, that could be interesting. Bryce down to 135 for the first time in his career. Is it a wise or a futile move? We will find out. And
he's not winning the title at 145. We know that much. So.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not.
And he doesn't want to go up to 155. Clearly, so.
Shit, he ain't beating Marab anytime soon either. So we'll see. All right. Well, we are in the latter half of this hour, so we're going to move it on to the second half of this show. And that means that was our July forecast. But how about we look ahead to August? Because not to be outdone, the last official month of summer looks to burn a hole into our calendars. Several marquee events and returns to cities long neglected. The first, a return to Vegas for a fight night, and a decent one for what I'm assuming is at the Apex. I'm not sure. But flyweight headliners and future prospects throughout. It is UFC on ESPN 71 on August 2nd. Headlined by Amir Albazi versus Tatsuro Taira. Got Carol Hossa versus Nora Cornole. Mateusz Rambetsky versus Chris Duncan. Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovics. Adolfo Vieira, Tresean Gore. Azamat Bakoya versus Torres Finney. Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. Rafael Estevan versus Felipe Bunis. Francis Marshall versus Austin Bashi. Piero Rodriguez, Ketlin Souza, and Nick Klein versus Andre Puglia. Those are the announced bouts for that card so far. Any of those stand out to you guys?
Apart from Tyra, maybe. Otherwise, it's pretty much a who the fuck are those guys kind of card. Not exciting for me, that one, I don't think.
There's a lot of impressive specimens on the bottom half of the card, like Torres Finney is like super jacked.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Finney, yeah.
And Tristan Gore is pretty scary, and he's fighting that Rodolfo Vieira guy. I think he was like the BJJ guy everyone was scared of until Fluffy beat him.
Yeah, he was the black belt hunter.
So I see a lot of muscle. It might be kind of boring fights, but there is potential for some excitement. And I hate Amir Albazi, but him versus Tatsuro Taira should be fun. And Amir is probably matchmakers haven't done him any favors over his career. Like he probably should be further along. Oh, wait, someone beat him actually recently. Someone beat him. Never mind.
Yeah, Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, that's right. Never mind.
He was coming back off of that fucking neck fusion surgery deal that he had.
But it's a solid enough fight for or the solid enough names on the card for me for a Apex garbage warehouse fight.
Yeah. Just quick notables for me. Go ahead.
If there were pictures of them, I might recognize more of them because I'm terrible with names unless there's a face attached. But...
Yeah, I'm looking at the website. I'm looking at the UFC website right now. That's how I'm like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, just for me, I wrote a little notables thing for each of these cards, and this one I got Francis Fire Marshall versus Austin Bashi. That should have loads of fun grappling, or it could cancel out and turn into a stand-up war. Bashi was the guy that came in with fucking tons and tons of hype. Was one of like the biggest favorites in recent history, and I believe he lost his debut. I can't remember to who. Francis Marshall, of course, always a fun fighter at 135, so that's going to be an interesting fight. Rinya Nakamura back, looking to avenge his first loss as well. Dave, you mentioned it, the Bakoya versus Finney fight. Two fucking just specimens of men, mountains of meat. One a smaller mountain, but a wider mountain. But yeah, that's either going to be one-way traffic in either direction because they both have fucking gaping holes. Bakoyev, not a very good grappler, but a strong stand-up fighter. Finney, great grappler, but can't stand up for shit.
So are you saying that has potential to be the Arby's of fights where it could be a big, meaty, sloppy mess, maybe delicious, maybe terrible?
Yeah, somebody's roast beef's going to be hanging out of the bun. That's a fact. And then, like you mentioned too, Trayshawn Gore back in it with his autism strength. There's something mentally wrong with that guy. He's got a condition, but he is strong as fuck. So he's probably going to kill Rodolfo Vieira, I imagine. Or Rodolfo Vieira could kill him because they're both kind of get or get got. And then Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovics, man, that one could be fight of the night. It could potentially be a possible fight of the year contender because Brenner does not back down. He's got that shoot to box style. He's out of the Charles Oliveira camp. He's lost several in a row, but they've all been fun fights. And then Ribovics, of course, coming off of last year's fight of the year contender at the Sphere. So those two dudes are going to fucking go at it. And finally, in the main event, Albazi versus Taira. A battle of the top contenders at 125, but I think this is really a matter of can Taira prove himself elite, like he can hang around with the elite, because I don't think Albazi is going to have enough to cut the mustard, so it'll be interesting. All right, well, we'll follow that with another week in Vegas. Also Apex, I'm not sure, but again, a fair amount of notable names. Starting at the top of the bill for this August 9th card from Las Vegas, Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Alex Perez versus Steve Urseg, Myra Buena Silva versus Jocelyn Edwards, Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill, Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan, Andre Touchy-Feely versus C-Rod Christian Rodriguez, Miles Johns versus John Matsumoto, Elijah Smith versus Toshiomi Kazama, Gabriela Fernandez versus Julia Stoliarenko, and Julius Juicebox Walker versus Rafael Sakeda. Anything on any of those fights?
It's always good to see Fluffy fight. And if he's headlining, that's good for him, I guess. He tends to be quite entertaining in a grapply kind of way. Usyk always brings a fight, although he's struggled recently, obviously, with his last few fights. Hasn't he lost his last 3, in fact? Albeit one of them against Pantoja.
Yeah, Usyk is on a 3-loss streak.
So yeah, I guess he's going to really react to it. What's Perez's ranking like? Is he actually ranked?
He's number 8, and Usyk is number 10.
Perez is what, sorry?
8.
8th. Ooh, it's going to be a tough fight, I think, for Steve. Hopefully he can get it done. So I kind of like that guy. And Yasmin Lucindo, I believe, is one of my horrible neck-tattered girls that I'm going to have to pick because Angela Lee is far too old to be on a main card, really. God bless her.
Angela Hill.
Yeah, sorry, did I say something else?
Angela
Lee. Which they both.
All right, sorry. Yeah, yes, my apologies.
I think Gian Matsumoto is normally fun, but he had kind of a tough split decision loss, but he had some good to Rob Font. But before that, he had some pretty good names on there.
Yeah.
He should win that, and that could be fun.
John Matsumoto, he is back, like you said, after the first career loss versus Rob Font. But if you remember, he was filling in for Dom Cruz, who pulled out and retired there. So that was a short notice fight that he lost to Font in. And that was also the fight where, call me a conspiracy theorist, but Rob Font looked awfully greasy, and he had just made the move to TriStar, where they like to lube their men up. So
allegedly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess real quick, just to fill in some space here, my notables for this one, the Elijah Smith fight. Elijah Smith, second-generation UFC fighter, looking to come back and continue his winning ways after a close fight against Vince Vendetta Morales a couple months back. That was the fight where he was getting choked up against the cage, and there was that screenshot of him making the fucking face like that, where he's just fucking tongue sticking out, eyes bulging out. Yeah, he's back. The John Matsumoto fight, that's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back after that short notice loss. Touchy Feely versus C-Rod. Both of those guys are coming off of L's to Melquizael Costa. So common opponent there that beat both of them. One of them's got to win. Eric Anders seems to be like another get-right fight for Christian Leroy Duncan, who did win his last one. But they're kind of just feeding him here. I think he should beat Anders pretty handily. Perez versus Usyk could be, like you mentioned, DangerMouse, Astro Boy's last chance. This L would be 4 in a row. And then in the main event, Dolidze versus Fluffy Hernandez hasn't lost since 2020 to Kevin Holland, who Roman beat just last year. That could play in it.
Saying that about Usyk, though, can you, if he's ranked 10th at the moment, just because he's on a 4-fight losing skid, can you kick him from the UFC out of 10th spot? That seemed kind of ridiculous.
Well, they've cut ranked guys off of wins. I don't know why they wouldn't cut him.
No, that's true, I suppose. Yeah, better get a win, Steve.
Yeah, they typically don't like to see guys get to that like 4 or 5 in a row mark.
Yeah,
like you got to be like a Tony Ferguson to hit that and stick around.
Yeah.
Daniel Lacerda was 0-6-1 in the UFC before he was cut, I think.
Oh yeah, your favorite guy, your favorite dude to bring up.
Usyk has been the victim of being a bit too rushed by the UFC.
Yeah.
He got the fight against Pantoja far too early. Although he did well, I think he's done better than anyone else recently, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It seems like he's digressed now, because he did do pretty good against Pantoja, and then a couple of fights since then, not so much.
Yeah.
Well, he got KO'd in the Kakara France fight, but at least he came back from that and went the distance with Moreno. So at least he didn't get flatline. That's kind of a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I keep saying that. That'll be interesting to see. That'll be very interesting to see. All right. Well, we will close up today, guys, with what's known of August thus far, because we're going to skip the final card of the month of August, which is the Shanghai card, but that one's still really shaping up. So we'll wrap with this card to close out the month of August, and it's an absolute heater. It's the long-awaited return to Chicago, the main event that many have dubbed the fight of the summer. Middleweight gold on the line. It is UFC 319. The main event: Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. This card will also feature fights with Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez, Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page, Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura, Karine Silva versus JJ Aldrich, Edson Barbosa versus Jakar Close, King Green versus Carlos Diego Fajeda, Gerald Mearshart versus Mihal Oleksiejczuk, Brian Battle versus Nursultan Ruzaboyev, and Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. Obviously, more fights still to be added to this card, but this is what we got so far. So, any of these, obviously, the main event that you guys are going to want to talk about?
Obviously, the main event, that's going to be a banger. And I really don't. I'm probably going to pick Khamzat for that one, just on the grounds he hasn't lost. But I can easily see Dricus surviving the storm and taking him out. It could be a good one. So yeah, that obviously very interesting.
To me, this full card's pretty stacked and we talked about for quite a bit. I guess the most interesting thing is Tim Elliott still fighting. Like, I thought he retired like several times and then he'll come back like a year later. He's fighting Kai Asakura, which is kind of... Yeah, he hasn't fought since December 23, so about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Didn't he have a loss to Mokaev in there somewhere?
Yeah, that was October 23.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I have written down it's a very Ryzen type fight.
Chase Hooper versus Alex Hernandez could be very fun. Chase Hooper's been on a heck of a streak. Alexander Hernandez at lightweight is usually carries some power. And it's been fun watching Chase at lightweight, so that's another one that should be fun.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Do you think Hernandez is a step up for Chase, or you think it's just kind of more of the same level of competition he's been facing?
Maybe a step up with durability and not so much a skill level step up, but he's fighting a fresher fighter with not old and shop worn. So King Green versus Diego Ferreira is like battle of the washed, worn. No, this is actually a good card. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure where we've got that women's co-main, if we do end up with that.
Okay, well, just to wrap this up, I will quickly give my notables on this card that we were just discussing. Besides some stuff we've already mentioned, Brian Battle versus Ruzaboyev, that's going to be an interesting one. Brian Battle is stepping up to 185 for the first time after some of his recent weight issues, and he's facing a tall challenge in Ruzaboyev. Ruzaboyev is a big boy for middleweight, so he did not get a welterweight-sized middleweight for his debut in the division. Also interested to see, does Oleksiejczuk continue his winning ways as a fighting nerd now? Does he continue to collect the W's now that he's donned the nerd glasses, or does he go back to his old ways of kind of winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one? King Green versus Fajeda, that's a fun fight, but who really cares? Like, just fucking cut these guys. And then JJ Aldrich, I don't know why she's on the card, but she can win or lose on any given night. She's an unpredictable girl, so that'll be an interesting one as well. Other than that, yeah, DDP also making his move to 185 for the first time in the UFC. So a couple of guys switching weight classes. It's going to be fun to see how those fights shake out and how they do in their new divisions.
Who's making their 185? Who's going to 185?
MVP.
Oh, I thought you said DDP. I misheard you.
I thought MVP fought at 185 when he fought Old One Eye.
Yeah.
Well, this is his permanent move, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Because after that MVP fight, he said he was, sticking around at 170, and now he's making the full-time move up to 185 for however much time he has left.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Yeah, that's about all we got there. So I guess we'll go ahead and just wrap this thing up.
Okay.
All right, dudes, that's going to do it for this summer forecast from your MMA meteorologist here at Just Bleed Radio News Network. If anything, maybe we stoked that fire in your belly just a little bit more for what lies ahead. Speaking of what lies ahead, we're right back at you next Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, with our regularly scheduled programming here at the Roundup. Until then, they're DangerMouse and Dave. I'm Lazy. This is JBR, and you've just listened to the Weekend Roundup. We out.
Bye.
Bye. Told you I'd fuck all on this. Where's Austin when we need him?
Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, July 12th. No, it's not. Sixth? Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Why, does somebody have Hooper?
I believe someone does, Laser.
I don't think anyone has.
It's like test your motorcycle out day.
I don't think anyone has Hooper.
No, they're not. I thought Lazy had him actually. Am I getting mixed up?
No, he's got Peyton Talbot.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's what I'm getting mixed up with.
I have a fucking ice cream truck coming down the street.
Yeah. Get me one, will you?
The fuck is like? I mean, come on, man. What?
We got motorbikes,
Right.
ice cream trucks, lawnmower last week.
This will just take a moment here. I'm gonna kill everybody. DDP also making his move to 185.
Son, you've got a condition